Everything looks good. Mr. Chairman, the meeting is yours.
Okay, I'd like to open this regularly scheduled video meeting of the Commerce Township Planning Commission. We'll start by approving the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from anybody?
Larry, can we do the agenda first,
Pardon me?
please?
You want to do the, I'm sorry, what did you say, Deb?
Can we do approval of the agenda first?
Oh, okay, we can do that first. Yeah, okay. Well, let's go for the approval agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. Anybody? No
I make a
addition?
motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second Mr. Winkler's motion.
Okay, Deb, it's to you.
Okay. Winkler,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Rebeck. Aye. McKeever. Do we still have Bill?
Bill, you're on mute.
Muted.
Bill, you're still on mute.
Yeah, he's working on it.
Okay.
Sometimes it's better that way.
Now he turned off his camera.
We'll come back to him. Let's go to Weber.
Aye.
Kareem,
Aye.
Haver,
Aye. Thank you very much. Bill, are you on with us yet?
I'm trying, but I didn't mute it.
Oh, okay. Well, I hear you now.
We just can't see you.
Bill, I sent you a prompt to turn your video on. Maybe there's a button you can see now asking to turn your video on.
All right, while he's working that, we'll move forward a little bit.
Okay, so we had motion carried unanimously.
Bill, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
We can do approval of the meeting minutes while Bill sorts out his camera.
We'll go to the approval of the minutes. Any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I did have 3 corrections that I emailed.
Bill, just say aye.
Aye.
There you go, Debbie, you got it.
So Debbie, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes with the corrections as identified by Debbie Watson.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, here's a second.
I will second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor? Deb, it's to you.
Okay. And can I ask one question? Sam, were you and I on the approval of the minutes last month?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. So we have Weber,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Sam.
Aye.
Thank you. Rebeck,
Aye.
McKeever,
Aye.
Winkler, Brian Winkler,
Aye.
and Haber.
Aye. Okay, discussions, update of activities in Commerce Township. Bill, we'll start with you.
We haven't had an agenda on the ZBA since our last meeting.
Okay, George, what do you got going? You got a lot, George.
Yeah, can you come back to me after the DDA as I'm pulling this up?
You got it? No problem. Brian? DDA?
Well, Larry, the December 15th DDA meeting was once again somewhat routine. It was Larry Gray's first meeting with us. And there is, if the Planning Commission has not driven through the Barrington subdivision development yet, which is on the southwest corner of the DDA property, please do so, because it's looking really, really good, and it's getting a lot of positive reaction from the public. And we approved an amendment to the Aikens agreement, which would be the large retail development to get him a BEA. And I am not sure what that is. Dave, do you know what that BEA is? Building.
I
What is
assume
BEA?
it's a baseline environmental assessment.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. And then the DDA was brought up to date on the RCG development, which is that proposed storage facility on the southeast corner of Pontiac Trail and M5. And then we also talked about the potential for a gas station at Oakley Park in Haggerty, although there were some valid concerns about alcohol sales issues. And then there was a discussion about addressing the traffic congestion and road realignments. And it was a part of the Pulte townhome development. It came up as a result of that Pulte townhome development. But Dave Campbell ably explained the options available and the challenge being the $20 million price tag that's attached to any construction cost for any improvements. So that's what I got.
Thank you very much. George, you up to snuff? You want to come back?
Nope, I'm ready. So the last board meeting we had was on December 8th, and as well as with the DDA, it was Larry Gray's first meeting, of which I'll give him some kudos for doing a great job right out of the box. A couple items for the interest of the Planning Commission. First, we had a lengthy discussion with the WRC regarding budget for water and sewer. So we asked an awful lot of questions on the management, the budget, and how we plan to move forward. And I think we'll have considerable discussion on that on a quarterly basis going forward. Just making sure that we're not surprised, that we know what's happening and why it's happening, specifically as it relates to infrastructure and maintenance costs. Another item, the board officially approved the Oak Hills site condominium, which we had sent to them with unanimous approval by the Planning Commission. So there was a fair amount of discussion on that, and but it was approved and is moving forward. We approved the 2021 meeting schedules for the board and all of the subboards and commissions. The 2021 holiday schedule. We spent a fair amount of time, again, discussing the need for an ordinance officer. And I think there's reasonable concurrence that we need the position. It's just structuring how we want to implement it. So there's still more work to do, and we've had lots of good discussions on that. We amended the option for purchasing of the library parcel with Bruce Akins. And it really doesn't have anything to do with their intent of purchasing it or the intent of the option. It was more an administrative change in the language and how the legal entities were structured. And finally, we gave Jason Mayer approval to begin an odor control study. So over the years, there's been some concerns up in the area of the Huron Valley Hospital along Sleeth Road that there has been odors from the sewage system. So the intent of the study is to identify, one, what's causing them, is maybe more accurately, and two, to identify means to mitigate that. So that's all I have. And I will tell the board, we do have a quarterly discussion meeting coming up on the 26th of this month. So just in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, George. Jason, you have anything for us?
The Newton Road force main is continuing. They're getting towards the north side of Multi Lakes on Newton Road. Dodge Park restroom, they're working on the inside stuff and they'll finish up in the spring on all the exterior restoration. We got notification that Windwheel Estates is going to start on Wednesday. That's at Benstein and Loon Lake Road. So that's about all.
Jason, we get a lot of questions at Township Hall about the northeast corner of Newton and Oakley Park. Because of the Newton Road project and all the construction equipment that's on that corner, a lot of people assume that that corner is about to be developed. But you and I guess I'm looking for you to confirm that that's corner is only being used as a staging area for the sewer project, and that it's going to be all put back together once that project's done.
Yeah, that's an agreement between the contractor and that property owner. So they work that out separately from anything the township's doing. But yeah, they're just storing equipment there and using it as a staging area.
Okay, anything more, Dave? No? Jay, what do you got?
Not too much, Larry. This time of year, it's usually typically slow, which it is right now. We're working on some kind of miscellaneous projects. Working on getting the township hall hooked up to public sewer. We're looking at doing some stuff out at the horse farm. A couple other kind of administrative things that we're working on right now. The building inspections have slowed down like it always does this time of year. So just trying to catch up a little bit and tidy things up and get ready for spring.
What about Zerbos, Jay?
Zerbos did get their final approval. So they should be opening relatively soon. I think when I talked to them right before Christmas, they were looking at maybe the end of February to actually to open the doors, but you know, that was still kind of a fluid date that is out there, but it should be pretty soon.
Is Barrington renting? Are they leasing now? Are there people in there? Or what's going on?
Yes, Barrington has people that are moving in. Their schedule right now is roughly 2 buildings a month is what they're kind of scheduled for to get opened up. So probably within the next 12 months, they should be pretty much done.
Yeah, at one point their site superintendent, and Jay, I don't know if you heard otherwise, but their site superintendent said that they hope to be completed by late fall of this year.
Sure, yes.
Amazing how fast they put that thing there. Put that
So
up.
if you drive through the site, you'll see the you know, the entrance off of Martin is done landscaping, and then as you drive into the site, you know, they did all those up front first to obviously for the look, and then also for the people that are going to be living there, that they won't have to deal with as much traffic. But they're moving along quite at a good steady pace.
All right.
Jay, on Zorbos, has their sign desires, have those all been sorted?
Those actually are going to be going to the next ZBA meeting. They submitted a sign package to the building department. I denied that. And we have been working with them and their consultant as to what variances that they're hoping to obtain.
Okay, Mark Stacy, anything you want to add?
No, I think you've covered it all, Larry. Just a few quick little things. We did see that Jim Galbraith put up the entry feature wall at the main roundabout. He will be putting naming rights on the front of that and then putting up lights in addition. But I think that that is a nice representation to start into the new downtown. Other than that, just working on getting our purchase agreement finalized for parcel K, which is the small entry piece for the self-storage. We're hoping to take that to my board next week. Other than that, nothing else. Thank you.
Dave Campbell, just a question to you, dude. How about the lighting on the bridge? Anything going on with that?
Yes, we are. So just as a reminder, of the 6 lights on the bridge surface that uplight the sails, the 2 sails on either side of the bridge, of those 6 lights, 3 got stolen. And unfortunately, it's not as simple as screwing in a new light bulb. It requires replacing the entire fixture, which is not a cheap endeavor. However, we have been in discussions with the township's insurance carrier, and it's worthy of filing an insurance claim. So we're actually going through the insurance claim process. I was talking to the guy today, our insurance agent. So hopefully the claim gets approved. We can buy the new fixtures. We've got an electrician who's ready to do the work whenever those fixtures arrive. So hopefully it will be fixed in the near future. The catch-22 with it, however, is obviously we don't want them to get stolen again. So we've been talking about putting some tamper-proof screws to keep the fixture in place and hopefully avoid anyone repeating their theft. The problem with that, though, is when you put a different screw in, it voids the manufacturer's warranty, the light manufacturer's warranty. So kind of a catch-22. Either they're under warranty or they're subject to theft.
Well, I got a suggestion for you.
What's that?
Electrify the lights and put about 7,000 volts in there and that'll stop you.
So
or else you'll know who did it.
Yeah. Hopefully the better solution is once the Adams Outdoor Advertising puts their billboard back, which we thought would be done by now, they have communicated to us that they will allow us to put some cameras perched up on their billboard looking down at the bridge and give us a source of power for those cameras and a source of data for those cameras. And hopefully that'll at least be a deterrent. And if someone does something like this again, we'll have a video of it. So
good. Okay.
I like that solution better than booby trapping anything.
Oh, okay. Well, just a form of a suggestion.
I'll take it under consideration.
Yeah. Supervisor Gray, are you on the line there? If you would like to make any comments, we would like to hear them. Rob?
You can press *6 to unmute yourself.
I think
Gray,
that's
if
an
you're
extreme vote of confidence for Dave Campbell.
Mr. Gray, if you're there, you can press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
All right, we'll move on. If he comes on, just let me know.
He's a supervisor. He can jump in whenever he wants.
That's true. Okay, public discussion, we passed that, and there's no old business, nothing from the table.
Larry, I don't know that I don't think there's anyone with us, but I don't know that we did offer public discussion.
Well, I don't see anybody out there. We can ask if there's anybody in the public who'd like to say something about something that's not on our agenda. This is the time to do it. I just don't see any numbers out
No,
there.
you're right. You're right. I don't see anyone joining us other than it looks like Mr. Gray did unmute himself.
Okay, well, Mr. Gray, are you there?
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. There you go. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I just want to continue to thank everybody for working with me, these first couple months. Things seem to be transitioning pretty smoothly. And, if there's anything I can do, please reach out to me. I'm here to help. And again, Dave's been doing great stuff. Jay's been helping out greatly. Everybody, George, everybody's been great help. So everything I can do, just please let me know. I appreciate all your help, guys.
Okay, thank you. And I look forward to meeting you in person very soon. Thank you for coming on and stay tuned. Okay, we'll go to item number 1 here. And that's PSU 20-07 84 lumber. This is a special land use, and this will be a public hearing. Dave, you want to give us a synopsis? We're all pretty much familiar with it, but you want to bring us up to date on anything that's new there?
I will, and you're correct. This is a project that has been evolving in front of the Planning Commission the last few months. If you'll recall that at the early stages, the Planning Commission had to make an amendment to our zoning ordinance to allow for a lumberyard to locate within the DDA district, which the subject property that we're going to talk about tonight is within the DDA. So the Planning Commission and the Township Board amended the zoning ordinance to allow a lumberyard. Subsequent to that, 84 Lumber petitioned for a conditional rezoning for the 3 subject properties that they want to locate upon. Those properties were zoned TLM, Technology and Light Manufacturing. That's a zoning district that does not allow for a retail lumberyard. So on a conditional basis, they had the properties rezoned to industrial, which is our only zoning district that would allow a lumberyard with an outdoor storage component. That conditional rezoning was approved by both the Planning Commission and the Township Board back in October. And so now this evening is potentially the final step for 84 Lumber's efforts of their conditional rezoning, which is them coming back to the Planning Commission with a site plan, and that site plan is meant to be a fully developed version of the site plan that you all saw as part of the conditional rezoning back in October. Another component of this is that a lumberyard is a special land use in the industrial district. So, and I've had this conversation with the township attorney, even though the township approved the use of a lumberyard through the conditional rezoning process, we still have to go through the special land use review and approval process. So that is why a public hearing is required. 84 Lumber did install their signs in front of the subject properties, notifying any passerbys that there was a special land use proposed with the planning department's contact information, should anyone want to call us with any questions. So I will briefly go over the project. Rob, if I can share the screen.
Yes. Yep. You're able to share the screen.
Thank you. And we'll pull up hopefully 84 Lumber's site plan. Hopefully everyone can see their site plan as I go to the page I want to get to. And while I'm waiting for this to load, I know that Jim Zonik, who is 84 Lumber's engineer, is on the line with us this evening, or on the Zoom call with us, and he'll have an opportunity to present his project on his own behalf. But the subject property is actually 3 subject properties. So the existing building at 4158 Pioneer Drive, which is this building here, north is to your left on your screen. So that's the first property, along with all of this area over here, which is currently a boat storage yard for the existing marine operation in the 4158 Pioneer. And then 84 Lumber also is acquiring these 2 undeveloped lots to the north. And their intent is to repurpose the entire site, including the building, with an outdoor lumberyard. So the building would be the retail store building for the lumberyard, along with 84 Lumber's offices. They would pave the outdoor storage area, which is all this area here, and add these 2 new 3-sided lumber sheds. And that would be phase 1 of the project. So there's 2 phases. Phase 1 would be the existing site with the building and this area with the 2 new sheds. And then phase 2 would be expanding into the currently undeveloped lots with 3 more sheds as part of phase 2. But as part of the phase 1 side of things, 84 Lumber would do most of the site improvements for the entire site. And that includes what was the focus of a lot of discussion with the Planning Commission and with the Township Board, of screening the outdoor storage yard. Because we have to keep in mind that this is still a property that's in the middle of a district that is zoned technology and light manufacturing. Technology and light manufacturing is not a district that encourages outdoor storage. So part of the negotiation with 84 Lumber in the conditional rezoning was that they were to provide a very well-screened lumberyard. So what 84 Lumber is proposing is along the Pioneer Drive frontage, this long berm. I think Mr. Zonik says this is a 3-foot berm with about 40 evergreen trees planted on top of it. I think these trees are meant to be 6 to 8 feet at their initial planting. Obviously they grow after that. Staggered row of evergreens all along the north perimeter, all along the west perimeter, and along this portion of the south perimeter, with some deciduous trees behind the building. So certainly adding a lot of new landscaping around the outdoor storage yard in an effort to screen it. In addition to the screening provided by the evergreen trees and the berm, 84 Lumber is also proposing a fence around the lumberyard. So the fence would come off this, which is the northwest corner of the building. There would be a gate across the existing driveway. The fence would carry across. And then for the phase 1 portion of the development, the fence would come across what is currently the phase 1 property line. And then when 84 Lumber is ready to move to phase 2, they would effectively relocate this fence and put it along the along the remainder of the west perimeter, swinging out this way, I should say. They would also, as part of phase 1, put in their detention pond for the entire development. So this pond would be sized to take on both phase 1 and phase 2. If you'll recall, when the Planning Commission was looking at this project as part of the conditional rezoning, there was a lot of discussion about there being a secondary detention pond along the north side of the site. 84 Lumber heard the Planning Commission's concerns with that and has sized this pond adequately to take on all the stormwater so that it could all be retained within this pond. I will also mention that the existing building will be refaced on its north face to add a stone veneer that would go up to the top of the existing overhead door. So at a height of about, I think it's 12 feet. So that would be an aesthetic improvement over the existing building, which is predominantly corrugated steel siding. And landscaping around the detention pond, the fence improvements that I mentioned. And the last thing I'll mention, then I'll take a pause for any questions. There was also some discussion with the Planning Commission about the traffic impacts of 84 Lumber and also the impacts on Pioneer Drive. I'll remind you that Pioneer Drive is a private road that's owned and maintained by the Homestead Industrial Park Association. 84 Lumber has agreed to pay what would be their normal fair share as the owner of 3 properties within the Homestead Industrial Park, but also to add a 25% premium, I guess we'll call it, to what would be their otherwise standard dues. And so that is 84 Lumber kind of paying for a buy-in for the existing road in an effort to hopefully expedite the some of the repairs on that road that appear to be overdue. So as I mentioned, the Planning Commission has seen this before, so I wasn't inclined to get into any heavy detail unless anyone has any specific questions. I know that Mr. Zonik would like to have a chance to answer any questions on his own behalf, but I'll pause here to see if there's any questions for me.
All right, any questions to Dave? If not, we're going to go to Mr. Zanik in just a second. Anybody got any questions for Dave? No? Okay. Jim Zanik?
Good evening. Thank you, David, again for the presentation. And once again, we're anxious to take care of all the questions that the town had. I think we've addressed, as David said, in the rezoning process, all the concerns. We've spent a lot of time on dressing up the facility presentation-wise. So we're looking forward to making this a finished product that's going to the township will like. As David mentioned, the facade of the main building is going to be dressed up as well. I think, can you folks see the screen?
No.
Okay, let me, sorry.
I think you have to request to share the screen.
I'm sorry.
You should be able to share the screen now.
How's that?
Then yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Jim, try again.
All right.
There it goes.
Okay, here we go. Should be able to see the renderings that were done.
I'll mention too, while Mr. Zonik is tracking down the right files that he's looking for. Just another reminder, this is a public hearing, so one of the obligations of the Planning Commission tonight is to open and close that public hearing. I just don't want to forget that step.
Let's do this. 1 second, please. Let's try it one more time. I'll continue on. I'll try to get my screen share. The facade, like we talked about, is going to have stone wood vinyl, which will match the chain link fence. The facade will be a stone vinyl, which will match the stone fence that's going to be along the northern side of the property, as well as the western side of the property. Let's see if I can get this back up. Are you folks seeing the renderings now?
Yeah.
We see your screen, but the file has not opened.
All right.
You see a list of PDFs.
David, do you have the renderings by chance that you could share? So for some reason, I'm not getting.
I should. Let me.
It's showing that I'm sharing it.
Now we see your email.
Okay. Let's try.
I'm looking here, Jim.
Oh, it flashed.
Yeah, I've got it
We
on.
almost saw them.
It's, all right, let's try one more time. Well, either way, if we can go back to the site plan, David, we can just, I can talk briefly about the access points are going to stay the same. We've have two access points into the property, both on the north side, which will go into the main facility. The one on the right side, which is the west side, is going to be one used for trucks to enter into the yard. Let's see, let me try this one more time. For some reason, it's not letting me share. Let's try. Nope, it's not doing it. Sorry, folks, I can't get my share screen unless, David, can you get the screen up? I don't know.
I'll give it a shot. What is it that you're wanting to show, Jim?
Just back to site plan, I guess, in general. The renderings are not coming up for some reason.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. As we talked about a second ago, the two access points will be on the north side of the property. The westernmost would be accessed by trucks, which would use the facility. And we went through a process of providing information to the township as far as how much traffic we would have. It's very low impact to the site and to the township, to the road, a private road. We went ahead and got a traffic study done, which turned out to show that we have basically no impact at all on this road as well as the surrounding intersecting streets. We went ahead and got the pond designed with our engineer, and I think we got all the kinks worked out drainage wise, that the pond can handle both the existing facility and the proposed asphalt in the future. The landscaping, we resubmitted that back to the township. We've got, I think, reapproval now on the details of the greenbelt landscaping, which is around the pond, in addition to just finalizing some detailing of the trees along Pioneer. And like I said, the facade of the main building has been addressed through stone vinyl, which will match the fence that's going to be proposed along the northwest part of the property and along phase one westerly line. I think the lighting concerns have been addressed as well. I think there's pretty much any of the issues the township had earlier have been addressed, and I'm happy to answer any of the questions that the town may have.
Dave, did you, we talked earlier today and I asked about the mechanicals. Did you get an answer to that?
I did talk to Mr. Zonik about that, and I'm sure he can answer this too. They do not have intentions to put any rooftop mechanical on the existing building. I think, Jim, you had mentioned that there may be some sort of an air circulator, but it would actually be inside the building.
Yeah, currently the main building, I'll say the front portion that we are proposing to have the retail and the offices in, roughly say 3,000 to 4,000 4,500 square feet, I believe, is already an existing conditioned space and insulated. So we basically will just be using that area to heat and cool. We'll probably have any kind of air handling inside the building would be above the joists of the proposed offices. Depending on the detailing of our mechanical engineer, we may need a additional condensing unit maybe outside the building, which we would screen if need be. But we're still fine tuning the mechanicals of how we'll airflow the office space and the showroom. But there's no additional need. We prefer not to have rooftop units just because of the threat of leaks anyway. So any conditioning heating units would be on the side of the building, and we would screen that if need be.
Okay, let's go through the formality of opening a public hearing. I don't see any public out there, but we have to do this technically. So I will tell the people, if anybody is listening, that during the public hearing, we'll hear what you have to say. We may not We may not answer the questions, but we do hear them and we will take them into consideration. I usually give a time limit, but there's no time limit here today because there's nobody on there. So with that, I'll open the public hearing. It's open to the public. Does anybody wish to speak?
If anybody wishes to speak, press *9 to raise your hand on your telephone, and then press *6 to unmute yourself. Press *9 to raise your hand and press *6 to unmute yourself.
Is there anybody out there, Rob? I don't think there is.
No, there isn't.
All right, with that, I will close the public hearing and we'll move forward. I want to let you know that we've done the public hearing part. We're going to have two votes here, one on the special land use and the other one on the site plan. So we'll move forward to that. So let's have some discussion between ourselves here and see if there's anything that people care to talk about. And I'm going to shake things up here a little bit. Kelsey, I'm going to go with you first. You got any questions that you want to ask Mr. Zanuck or Dave or any of us?
I don't have any questions.
And then Sam, how about you?
Yeah, I'm looking right now about the rendering actually on my laptop, which I have it next to me. And I do like the elevation because of those two red lines at the front. It doesn't look like it's a big, industrial building from the front. But on the side, it's all siding 2 floors high. And I was wondering if they can extend that red line to the side as well, since it will be seen. It's the side, the road curve there, so you can see the side of the building.
You have a problem with that?
What do you think, Ryan?
Jim?
So on you're asking for the continuation of the red stripe along the front to carry it across on the side elevation?
Yes. Is that possible? I mean,
Yeah, that's possible. That's not a huge endeavor, so I can say we could do.
Yeah. Well, actually, it will make the whole building look as not a very high industrial building.
I agree. It'll break it up a little bit, so we can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else that you have there, Sam?
That's about it. Thank you.
Okay, Brian Winkler, what do you got? Brian Winkler?
Larry, this is more of a question for Dave Campbell, and it's in regard to the quantity of evergreens going around the 3 sides of the site. And my past experience is that probably 10% of those evergreens die before they actually take. And Dave, what does do we have the ability to enforce replacing those trees if some of them do die?
We do have the ability, and we regularly do so. So when it comes time for them to make their site improvements, we will require a performance guarantee for a number of the site improvements, not just the landscaping, but the pavement and if they were connecting to water and sewer, we would require performance guarantees for that as well. Typically what we do is we take a performance guarantee for the landscaping, and then once it's installed and our landscape architect has confirmed that it's installed consistent with the landscape plan, then we refund 90% of the landscape guarantee, but we hold back 10%, and we hold it back for 2 full growing seasons so that we can come back 2 growing seasons later. And if, as you say, Mr. Winkler, if a certain percent of evergreen trees have not survived, then we require that they be replaced before we can refund the remaining 10%. So that's how we handle that.
Thank you, David. Otherwise, I have no comments. This petitioner has done everything we've asked him to.
Okay, Brian Pirro, what do you got?
Thanks, Larry. I don't have much. I really don't have anything. As a group, we've done a lot of homework on this already. So I'm really happy with the result. I'm happy that they're taking on a greater proportionate share to help out the association there. And I'm happy that they're putting in the money for the landscaping that'll be on up front in the onset. So I commend the petitioner, and nothing else from me. Thank you.
Okay, Bill, what about you?
I don't have any issues with it as it's presented.
Okay, and George?
Nope, nothing else. Just as the Brian said, Jim, really appreciate you basically taking all of our suggestions and incorporating them into your site plan.
Okay.
There,
If there were questions, yes, go ahead.
well, I was gonna repeat something you already said, Mr. Haber, which is there are two potential motions, one for the special land use, and then if that were to be approved, then the subsequent action would be on the site plan if the planning commission so chooses.
Okay, so we're gonna go with the free special land use first. I don't have, I have the proposal in front of me. Somebody have it there that can read it off and make a motion.
I'd be happy to do so, Mr. Haber.
Okay,
I move to approve PSU number 20-07, a special land use for 84 lumber, allow new retail lumber yard with outdoor storage within the I Industrial Zoning District located at 4158 Pioneer Drive. Special land use approval is based on a finding that the applicant has demonstrated to the satisfaction of the Planning Commission that the proposed use complies with the special land use criteria of section 34.08 of the zoning ordinance. Special land use approval is based on the following conditions. Number one, approval of a corresponding site plan by the Planning Commission. And number two, I think the only other item we have there is the item that was noted by Mr. Kareem to continue the band, the red band on the side of the building.
do I hear a second?
McKeever,
Who is that?
McKeever,
Keever seconded. Okay, Deb, it's to you.
No other discussion? Carol?
Aye.
McKeever?
aye.
Weber?
Aye.
Reback?
Aye.
Kareem?
Aye.
Winkler?
Aye.
Haber?
Aye. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go to the next item, which would be the site plan approval. Number 11 or 12, whatever, number 2 on the agenda. David, anything more you want to add to this? If not, we've had pretty much a discussion on this thing. So.
I don't have anything more to add. I think all the discussion, the special land use side of things and the site plan side of things just sort of came together in one discussion.
Right, okay. Anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Mr. Zanuck? If not, somebody want to make a motion?
Larry, I make a motion to approve site plan PSP 20-10, a renovation of a 42,000 square foot retail building for a lumberyard with outdoor storage and 5 shed enclosures that is located upon 6.4 acres at 4158 Pioneer Drive. Approval is based upon a finding that the site plan proposes improvements in reasonable proportion to the scale of the new building and the impact of the expansion of the outdoor storage yard, consistent with the goals of section 39.05 of the zoning ordinance relative to non-conforming sites, so long as certain conditions of the Planning Commission noted below can be included on a revised site plan. And it goes down to 4 comments that are in David's report.
Any questions? Any further discussion? Do we have a second on that already?
I would second that, Larry.
It's moved and seconded. Deb, to you.
Winkler? Brian? Winkler?
Yes.
Okay. Carol?
Aye.
Weber?
Aye.
McKeever?
Aye.
Reback?
Aye.
Kareem?
Aye.
Haber?
Aye. Welcome to the neighborhood, 84 Lumber.
Thank you so much to everyone for all your assistance and help. Looking forward to it.
So Jim, a question before you go celebrate. What, if everything goes well, when do you hope to be open for business?
I think the expectations are probably June or July, or maybe later. The only issue we have is we've purchased the 2 vacant properties, and we've purchased the property that has the existing building on it. The existing owner has a lease that he's still has in effect with the boat sales. So until that is completed, we can't take over the building, but the game plan would be to build the sheds and fix up the property. In the meantime, say March, April, with expectations, and once the lease is done, we'll move in. Take about a month or so to dress up the interior of the building. So it'll be sometime this early summer, we hope.
Happy aboard. Welcome aboard.
Yep. Thank you so much again. Take care.
Take care.
All the
Okay.
best.
Thanks.
Moving right on is PPU 20-2002, Midtown on Haggerty. This is a PUD preliminary review. This is the second step in the PUD. We've already seen this once, and we're going to move right along with this thing. Dave, you want to bring us up to snuff where we stand, please?
You're correct, Mr. Haber. This has come to the Planning Commission once before as a conceptual site plan, but even going back a couple of years, the petitioners this evening, Steve and Spencer Schaefer, came to the Planning Commission, or at least Steve came to the Planning Commission a few years ago with a project that was very comparable to this. So this is kind of the evolution of that concept that the Planning Commission saw a couple of years ago. But tonight's step is a formal step in the PUD process. It's a formal step per our procedures. However, the Planning Commission is not obligated to take any action, any formal action this evening in the form of a motion. This is an opportunity through the preliminary review process, we call it, to make the petitioners aware of any significant concerns that the Planning Commission may have or suggestions before this were to take the next step, which is a more significant step in the PUD process, where the Planning Commission holds a public hearing and where the petitioner submits a full PUD submittal and everything that's required to go along with it. And the Planning Commission would then have an opportunity to make a formal recommendation on that PUD subsequent to a public hearing, whereby it would then move to the Township Board. So for the Schaefers to get to that step is a significant investment for them in terms of the information that they have to provide. So tonight's meeting is an opportunity to air out any thoughts that the Planning Commission may have and have some conversations about this project, big picture conversations about this project, so that the Schaefers can take that information and apply it to the PUD submittal that the Planning Commission will potentially be seeing as part of a public hearing at the March 1st Planning Commission meeting. I see Spencer Schaefer nodding his head. I think that's the tentative plan, is that they'll be back in front of you at the March 1st meeting for a public hearing on this project. So the project has been titled Midtown on Haggerty. It is on the 25-acre undeveloped property on the west side of Haggerty Road, just a little bit north of 14 Mile Road. North of the shopping center Newberry Plaza, which has the Kroger store anchored on one side and the Panera Bread on the other side, and all the shops and restaurants in between. The Fetter property is 25 acres. What the Schaefers propose to do is utilize the Haggerty Road frontage for 3 new retail buildings, and I'll pull up the concept plan here, or the preliminary review plan here in a minute. But 3 retail buildings along the Haggerty Road frontage. 2 of those would be inline retail, and then the third building would be a dedicated restaurant pad with a drive-through, which I think the Schaefers have disclosed is likely to be a Culver's drive-through restaurant. I hope I'm not disclosing any secrets with that. And then the remainder of the property is to be developed with a residential component, a total of 10 buildings, each with 19 rental apartment buildings for a total of 190 apartments. These would be 3-story buildings. The reason the Schaefers are applying for this project as a PUD is because the property is currently zoned B2 community business. That's a zoning district that does not typically allow a residential component. So it was in a lot of conversations with the Schaefers that led up to tonight's meeting. It was agreed that applying for the project as a PUD allows flexibility on both the township's side and the developer side, with the intent that the final outcome, the project that is agreed upon by both parties, is a better project than what could otherwise have been achieved under development through the parameters of the B2 zoning. So I'm going to share my screen and bring up hopefully a site plan with the, I hope I don't have the same problems that Mr. Zanuck has. So can everybody see? There's a site plan overlaid on top of the aerial of the property. Is that what everybody's seeing?
No, we're looking at your
Yeah, that's
your
like the break.
screen with
All right.
just
All right,
a list of PDFs.
Bear with me here. When you have too many things open, the screen sharing feature gets confused of which one you want to share.
As long as it's only the screen that's getting confused.
No, I didn't say that either.
We're not faulty, the technology is.
Okay, share screen. And I think what I'm learning is if it's a larger file, which this one is, there's a less chance that you get cooperation. So share screen. All right, I'm about to give up here.
Call Jim and tell him he had the same problem. So he
Yeah, right. Okay, give me one more second here. I can see it on my screen.
So Dave, what slide are you wanting to talk to?
It's the overall site plan, Mr. Weber, with the aerial photo underneath it.
Okay.
And I'm not getting cooperation, so we're just gonna talk as if we can. How about now? Can you see it now?
Working, yeah.
Yes.
All right. So as I mentioned, the two inline retail buildings along Haggerty Road with the drive-through culvers to the south, with the 10 residential buildings to the west occupying the bulk of the property. There would also be a clubhouse here at the far west end. There would be a park area. And the intent here that we've had a lot of conversations with the Schaefers about is integrating the retail with the residential, so that the retail does not effectively turn its back on the residential, that the folks who live in these apartments could easily shop and eat at the retail component, so that the two uses kind of support one another. In addition to having that integration with the retail and the residential on the project itself, as you can see, there's interconnections with the existing retail to the north. So this is the Home Depot store. Over here is the Staples. Further north is Target, and there's a movie theater that we hope is repurposed with something great sometime soon. And then to the south, as I mentioned, is the Newberry Plaza with the Kroger and all the restaurants, and there's fitness places and so forth in there. And there's a driveway connection with that shopping center too. So the idea is that there's interconnectivity with this project and everything adjacent to it, so that everything can benefit from one another. The shopping benefits from the residential and vice versa. As another thing I want to mention is that there is a traffic impact study in process with this development. As you can see, the Schaefers are proposing to line up what is effectively their main driveway with the existing shopping center driveway on the east side of Haggerty Road, which is West Bloomfield Township. It's very possible that the traffic volumes are sufficient to warrant a traffic signal here. The road commission is going to want to take a look at that because it would be in relatively close proximity to the existing signal at 14 Mile and Haggerty. So they'd want to take a look at how that would function. There's also a potential that Haggerty Road, and particularly southbound Haggerty Road, may need to be widened with an additional through lane to take on the additional traffic that was expected to be generated by this development. The Schaefers also included, and I'm not sure if I want to try to pull them up, but they did include some prospective elevations, both of the retail component and of the residential component. I know I've had some conversations with some members of the Planning Commission, more so regarding the residential. The height of the proposed buildings, these are 3-story buildings. And also the proposed building materials. We've had several conversations about what the appropriate blend of building materials are on these buildings. So that might be something that the Schaefers should have an opportunity to hear the Planning Commission's thoughts on that as part of tonight's review. The last thing I'll say is, like with any PUD, one of the requirements is a recognizable public benefit. So again, the idea is that the township is flexible with the developer relative to the strict standards of our zoning ordinance, and the developer is in turn flexible with the township with what they are able to offer in order to bring this project to fruition. So that comes in the form of recognizable public benefits, which can run the gamut as far as what the developer is willing and able to offer. I think the Schaefers have some thoughts for this evening on what those recognizable public benefits are, and it would be a good opportunity for the Planning Commission to offer any feedback on those public benefits. So that is my best effort to summarize this big project in a relatively short amount of time. I'm happy to answer any questions the Planning Commission may have, and I know that the Schaefers are hoping to do a presentation on their own behalf.
Okay, Schaefers, what do you got for us?
Thank you, David. We appreciate the introduction. I want to start by saying I'm a Michigan State grad, but I'm rooting for Ohio State tonight. I'd hate to see Alabama win another national championship.
Go green.
Go white.
There you go.
All right, with that, David, are you able to share the presentation, or should I try with my share screen feature?
Let me try to get you an answer to that question.
Okay.
Spencer, remind me what the name of the presentation.
I can tell you here in a second. It's Midtown on Haggerty, and then parenthesis Feder property,
Yeah.
and then it's PC.
Okay.
January.
All right, so I got it. Now I'm going to turn off that. I'm going to try to share the screen again. I don't want that. Okay, I think I got it. Is that what you're looking for, Spencer?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Thanks, David. All right, I'll just let you know when to go on the next slide.
Okay.
Okay. We
Keep
can
going.
skip the table of contents. Okay, so project location, as you guys are well aware, we're on the northwest corner of Haggerty Road and 14 Mile Road. We're in Commerce Township, but we're on the four corners of West Bloomfield, Farmington Hills, Novi, and then Commerce. Next slide. Yeah. So this is the site plan. We have changed it significantly in terms of the commercial portion since we saw you last. We've recreated the design of the drive-through to the south that's closer to the Murray Center where the Kroger and Panera is located. Hasn't changed too much, but we've settled on the two retail buildings to the north. We do have one drive-through that potentially may be used as a pickup window for a end user like a Chipotle. And we've created a nice feature here in the center with patios and a walkway. As David said, one of the key considerations is really creating a strong linkage from the retail and restaurant users that we're going to have in these buildings to the residential so people can walk. One of the biggest things we want to do here is improve walkability, not only within our development itself, but also between our development and adjacent developments to the north and south, as well as potentially to the airline trail, as we've been talking about with David. After we get through this meeting, we'll talk a lot more about community benefit and ways in which this PUD can create some of that community benefit. Additionally, we've eliminated, oh, David, if you could go back.
Oh, sorry.
There's one more thing I wanted to point out. We've eliminated the road that was between buildings 2, 4, and 9. We thought that that was especially redundant given the fact that we already do have 2 curb cuts on Springvale and a curb cut on Haggerty. And this does a lot to create more open space in the plan and create, you know, a nicer feature rather than just having a road there that we feel is going to be seldomly utilized. Next slide. So development summary of the residential apartments. I know we talked about density a little bit, so I'm not going to go over that. The density shown on the plan is 9.3 units an acre. I had spoken with David about parking, and he asked that we do a little bit of research looking into other adjacent townships ordinances, and they normally require 2 spaces per unit, regardless if it's a 1-bedroom unit or a 2-bedroom unit, plus a number of guest spaces. But we are heavily oriented on 1-bedroom units. 40% of our units are 1-bedroom units. So we're confident that this ratio, which we took followed word for word with the zoning ordinance, is going to provide more than enough parking. We actually have 6 more spaces than the ordinance requires.
Yeah, if I can jump in for 1 second, the Schaefers and I have had several conversations, and we will continue to do so, about what the right parking balance is for a development like this. I mean, when you're sharing uses, there's an opportunity for shared parking. What we don't want to have is a project that's overparked because we're requiring parking for every different use that's being proposed. We want to take into account a shared parking dynamic and the fact that some people are gonna walk rather than drive because of the interconnectivity. So that's a conversation that'll continue. I know that I don't think any of us want there to be more impervious pavement on this project than is what the right amount.
Yeah, and when David's talking about pedestrian linkages and pedestrian connectivity, we're actually going to be, you can see in the northwest corner of this plan where that little arrow is. I know it's small, so it may be difficult to view, but we're actually going to be doing some striping as well as some signage that crosses Springville, so people are easily be able to walk to the Home Depot, the PetSmart. You know, additionally, we have other retailers like Lifetime, Costco, and Target, and we'd really like to try to, bring rooftops to this area that has a lot of commercial to support that commercial, but also work to improve connectivity and link the walkways together the best way that we can. Next slide, please. So this goes into parking a little bit on the retail section of the development. As David eloquently stated, there's a lot of different opportunities for parking in the north and the south. And one thing we really don't want to do is overpark the commercial aspect of this development. We've been in advanced talks with CMP Realty, who is one of the premier real estate brokers and realtors. They know a lot of the commercial users. They do a lot of lease up all across the state of Michigan. And we believe that this is the right balance. We've consulted with users who are very interested in this development, such as Chipotle, Beyond Juice, Detroit Wing Company, a couple different urgent cares. And we felt that this was the correct balance of parking. So right now the faces are in the way, but if I can move this, we're proposing a total of 171 parking spaces. 58 spaces for the Culvers, and then 113 spaces for retail buildings A and B, which are to the north. And there's a couple of different options when we consider parking looking at your ordinance. If we strictly do it as a retail center, which is what the center to the south did, even though they do have a number of restaurants, fitness, bike repair shop, there's the Panera, and then there's the Kroger as well. If we use that calculation, we would require 116 spaces, 116 spaces total. That includes the 61 spaces that your ordinance requires for the drive-through. If we do it as retail center parking, which we feel like is slightly more in line, we did a basis based on 60% restaurants and 40% retail. That parking calculation is closer to 207, but we're at 171, and I believe we would be 33 spaces less than option B, which is much more stringent. But as I said, we've really put in our due diligence. We've talked with the user, we've talked with a broker who's very familiar with the users and their needs, and we are very confident that we have more than enough parking spaces within the commercial development. Next slide, please. So I talked about this a little bit last time, but just to refresh everybody, obviously Haggerty Road, particularly on the commerce side, is very commercial nature. So in our PUD, we wanted to do something that was similar, that is symbiotic, but also do something different in the residential apartments. So we're going to be offering very nice high-end mixed retail and restaurants on the frontage, and we're offering very high-end apartments. I want to iterate that we want this to be considered one of the most luxury apartment developments, not only in Commerce, but in the four, corners area, looking at West Bloomfield, Farmington Hills, Novi, that have a lot of older units. We want to build something that's very nice, that's going to be attractive specifically to younger people, younger millennials, younger working families. But we also do have tons of units, 30 units on the first floor that we're going to be looking at for seniors if they're interested. That's going to be a lot easier, especially since there are no stairs. So it's going to be easy to get in and out of those units. Another thing I want to mention is that we're doing 9-foot ceilings on the third floor. We're going to be doing cathedral studio-like ceilings. We're going to have 12-foot ceilings and 13-foot ceilings, just because the opportunity does present itself. And we think that's really going to help in renting those third floor units. And like I said, we have 19 unit buildings, 58%, we'll call it 60% 1 bedrooms and 40% 2 bedrooms. So commercial facade, I know we showed this last time. This is the shopping center that was built on the west side of Orchard Lake, right around where the Ferrari dealer is. And we want to do something similar, where there's about 3 or 4 or 5 different materials on the exterior, but we really want to work on drawing materials over from the residential and bringing those into the commercial. So the 2 uses look similar. We obviously don't want them to look the same, but we want there to be a resemblance. Again, this is part of a grander PUD, and we want to create something that looks very nice, that has a lot of cohesion. This was a commercial building. I'm just showing this as another option. I want to iterate that it's not stucco. I know this rendering isn't the best, but this was all masonry. This was all a brick product. But we'll probably go towards something like in the first slide, just because, we want to do a multitude of materials. But the parking area gives you an idea of what we're going to try to do. We're going to look to do a lot of nice landscaping in there and create something that looks good as well. Also, there's a patio on this building as well, something that we're looking to do on ours. And this has been key. We actually just finished 2 of these 5 buildings, and we're getting a lot of restaurant users. Obviously, COVID has created a difficult situation, but a lot of restaurant users are really looking strong because of the fact that we have a place where people can eat outdoors. Michigan, sadly, with all the winter, you can only use it 6 months out of the year, but people do like it. It is a very good feature, and it's something that we're going to look to bring into this development. Next slide. So I know when we last spoke, one of the things that we received the most comments on was elevation. So here I've got 3 different elevations that I'd like to show you. And then once this goes to questions, I'd really like to hear planning commissioners' feedback, see what you like, see what you don't like. And I wanted this to be comprehensive approach. So we're not just saying, look, this is what we're doing, this is what we want to do, or else we're not doing this development. We're very open to hear your suggestions, and we'd like to tie them into the project any way you could. So this is the more blue version of the concepts that we came up with. We do have a mixture. I actually have a material slide on the 3rd slide, so I'll hold off, David, if you could go to the next slide. This is the back of the building as well. We've added in some more masonry, some more stone. We do have a combination of high-end vinyl. I want to iterate that it is high-end maintenance-free vinyl. We want to do something that is going to withstand the test of time. We are going to be owning these apartments, and we believe it makes sense to spend a little bit more money up front to create a product that is going to last 20 years, 25 years, rather than some cheap grade vinyl that's only going to last for 5 or 10 years. So mixed up the colors. We do have some darker blues, some lighter blues, very nice board and batten. So we're not looking to do the same type of vinyl material. We're looking to vary those. And then we do also have some masonry, a more grayish masonry, and then we have that ledge stone type product. Next slide, please. So this is going to be elevation number 2. This is the darker or the more grayer of the 2. We have some grays in here. We have some browns in here. That ledge stone sort of sticks out where the garages are to the vinyl. That's not the case, as you'll see here up ahead when we go to the materials. It resembles it and matches it a lot more better. Next slide, please. So these are the backs. Ooh, could you go back to 15 for a second, David? Okay, so this is the next slide. Also to those grays, the one's a little darker, the one's a little lighter. For some reason, this diagram doesn't do it justice. But another thing I want to mention is by us doing these balconies versus the cantilever balconies, which just sort of stick out of the building, this gives us the opportunity to do much larger balconies, which we know are key. We have some great views within this development. So we want to be able to have the ultimate, users of this development enjoy the parks, the wetlands, the beautiful wetland feature that was created in the back a number of years ago to see that. Next slide. So again, we used similar materials. They are different colors, but again, I want to state that these are high-end vinyls. They're thick vinyls. They're very nice looking, and they're going to hold up and withstand the elements. Next slide. So this was the original elevation that we had proposed at the last meeting. I just wanted to show it to show you how we have varied things. Again, we're more than open to hearing your input. But like I said, we wanted to show you a couple of concepts, see what your thoughts are, get your opinions. And then when we come back here, hopefully on March 1st, we'll have a couple more elevations in hand that we can show you and hopefully settle on something. Another thing I want to mention, I'd like to hear your feedback, is if you think it would be worthwhile to do an A building and a B building, have the same materials but different colors. We are proposing 10 different buildings here. Granted, 190 units isn't that large for some multifamily units, but we do have 10 buildings. So I feel like, we could do something nice here by using different colors, again, that do look similar, but just work to create some more variation and look better and more appealing to the eye as people travel or traverse through the development. Next slide. Oh, so this is just the backs of those units. So again, you can see we have added a significant amount more brick. Next slide. So we've talked about the floor plans as well. The only thing I'm going to mention is that you can see where the patios are. We're actually going to have 3 windows. So it's going to be a door wall and a window. Again, the biggest thing here was try to increase the amount of natural light that can get into these units. Also, we're looking at creating larger windows, to the bedrooms. Again, to create more natural light. This is wide open, very modern. We're looking to do condo-like finishes, luxury finishes. Again, we don't want to put cabinets in here or cruddy countertops. They're going to have to be redone in 10 years or 15 years. We're going to be doing marbles, quartz, corian. Like I said, we're going to be using high-end materials that are going to be sturdy and that are really going to help us get those higher rents. Next slide. So again, I know we didn't show this to you last time, but these are examples from a version of this product that was built in Grand Rapids, just to give you an idea of what the units themselves look like. I really liked, the way that they did 2, 3 colors of paint. We have nice cabinets. The cabinets there, I'm actually thinking we're going to raise them up a little bit, so we have more cabinet space, but just so it creates a little bit of a nicer feature in the units. Next slide, please. Okay, so the amenity presentation. So I've got a couple, I chopped up, the rendering of the site plan into 3 portions. We have the commercial portion, the residential portion, and then the clubhouse. But you can see here that there are a lot of features that we're going to employ. First thing, the first 2 pictures on the left-hand corner, we want to do dense screening. Especially where the drive-throughs are located. So, there's no issues created between the residential and the commercial. We don't believe this is going to be an issue. We're going to be proposing knee walls. But again, what I want to state is that there is a large buffer between the backs, of these commercial buildings or the backs where the drive-throughs could be compared to the residential buildings, particularly where the drive-through is labeled Building C, that has a significant setback. So, we did this purposefully with intent because we wanted to buffer these as well as we could, but also too, you can see a picture of a brick paver. We want to do that here between the middle of the buildings that go through the patio and eventually the parking lot. We want to do a nice brick paver path. We're also going to be doing it through this road too. So there's a defined area of where pedestrians can walk. We're also looking to emulate this in other parts throughout our development. But the key here is being as pedestrian friendly as we can. We want to do that within our development and we want to do that outside of our development. There are a couple opportunities. I know that shopping center to the south doesn't have any sidewalks. We would like to extend a portion of sidewalk from our property into that development so our users can get to the restaurants and the commercial uses there as well as if people are shopping, in that development, they can make their way to the retail and commercial users that we're going to have. And, as well, we're creating a pathway that connects to the shopping center to the north so they can get into those uses as well. Let me move these pictures. Oh, David, could you go back? I just had the pictures of us talking. Ooh, I don't know why that picture on the top right looks like that, but I had pictures of, people eating outdoors with some nice landscaping. Like I said, we're looking to do nice enhanced feature in between the two buildings so people can eat, people can walk, do some cooler type of landscaping in there, really create a sense of community for the people who are eating at those restaurants or, people who are walking through. Let's see. And then, on the bottom right, I show some pictures of interior landscaping, what we're looking to do along our main drive, and just as well as some signage. I know David mentioned we don't want to do very outgoing signage. We want to do signage that's there, but almost feels like it's not there, that shows people where they need to go, the uses that exist within the development, but we don't want to plaster a bunch of different huge, large signs that don't look the greatest. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of the amenities that we're looking to do in the residential area. I believe the screen's cut off a little bit here, but we're looking to do barbecues, dog park area, looking to do nice paths in the central park area. We want to include trash cans, dog refuse stations, some nice lighting, some bike racks. And then in this focal point area, we've want to include some nice feature, like a gazebo-like area with a fireplace that people can enjoy. And we're also looking at potentially doing, some type of community garden in this area as well. Next slide. The last thing is the clubhouse. These were actually images from a clubhouse that our architect has built in a couple areas. Obviously, we're going to want to mimic the materials on the exterior to match the apartments, but this just gives you an idea. We're looking to do pool tables, gathering areas, workout facilities, places that you could clean your pets, as well as have some nice outdoor seating areas where people could potentially eat. That's going to be right next to where the barbecue areas are located. One other thing I want to mention that we didn't touch base in the zoning was the traffic study. We do have a draft traffic study, but the biggest thing I want to say is that our development, which again is a combination of apartments and mixed use retail and restaurants, is going to be generating 47% less trips than what is contemplated under the current B2 zoning. And that's not a subjective statement. That comes directly from the traffic consultant Fleece and Vanderbrink in their report. Also, there were some recommendations about the approach. We're going to be listening to all of these recommendations and applying them in our next version of the plan. We believe that these are gonna really help create good turning into and out of our development. So we feel that those are warranted. And like I said, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see that, but we'll be following all of the recommendations that Julie Kroll had recommended. So with that, I'd like to see if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and we'd be more than happy to address them.
Okay, so we'll open this up to the commissioners here, and I want to say this is a non-binding discussion that we're going to have. These are just suggestions that we think we'd like to see, and see what you come up with. The one thing you didn't mention is 100% of what do you plan on doing for the community?
Yeah,
community benefit.
Yeah, if I can address that, I stated it a little bit, but we'd be looking to do sidewalk, improvements. Like I said, we'd be looking to do some signage and some striping into the Home Depot, as well as creating some sidewalk connectivity to the Murray Center to the south. But We did talk about it with Dave, and we'll have to talk about it a little bit further after this meeting, is that there is that airline trail that goes through Commerce, and we got to take a little bit further look and talk about it a little bit more comprehensively and see if we could potentially give some type of donation in that regard. If there is anything else the planning commissioners can think of, we will definitely take it into regard.
Okay, I was just thinking maybe a new fire station or something like that. Okay, that being aside, we will move this forward. Bill McKeever, you got any questions, anything ups and downs you want to talk about? Any?
Well, I'm still concerned with density, Larry. Isn't this the same density it was when it was brought for the cursory review?
If you're referring to the meeting back in November, yes.
Okay, and one of my takeaways from that meeting by most of the planning commissioners was an issue with the density. And I still have an issue with the density. I think it's too much. And that's my big, I'm in favor of the concept. I don't think I can wrap my head around the density.
Okay, anything else, Bill?
That's my issue.
Okay, George?
I've got a couple of comments. So one thing for the Schaefers to consider is that, and this relates back to Bill's comments as well. So overcoming a rental apartment high rise in Commerce isn't going to be very easy. So you're going to need to overcome that with some of what you've discussed is what are the benefits to the community. Now, having said that, I will say if you were proposing to put this probably on any other plot of land within Commerce, I would be a no vote. I think this is the one plot where I think that this could work. And Larry and I have had some discussion on it. We understand that it's not likely going to be developed for retail in this environment. And I think what you're proposing can be a fit. But so think about that as, again, a 3-story high-rise apartments. That leads to one of the questions or one of the comments that you had, Spencer, as it looks to the outsides of the buildings. And do you want to vary them? And I would recommend yes, very much so. Because if they're all a gray monotone, when you have 10 of those in a relatively small geography, it's going to look like a high-rise rental area, and that's not what we want. I appreciate the use of stone that you've added. My personal view is that more stone and some rich, warm tones will help that. And while I love the gray monotones on my truck, I think there needs to be some variation to that, and it could be within several of the buildings, et cetera. I do not support and never will support any use of vinyl siding. And even if it's high-grade industrial vinyl, all it takes is 5 years from now, storm damage, when you have to go try to replace a couple of pieces of that, you'll never get it to match. So, so that's one of the comments. I'm not sure what Variform is. I noticed that you were using that for kind of your batting or your vertical. I'm assuming that's some level of a vinyl as well. I'm just looking at some of my other notes here. I think that, on building B on the retail, where you're showing that as having potential to have a drive-through. I wasn't sure how the flow of traffic would work on that. So if the drive-through window is on the south side of building B, if cars are going to be wrapping around, particularly wrapping around some of where you're going to have your patio area, I wasn't sure how that would work just from a traffic flow.
If I may, we're looking to do some type of a lower intensity use. Again, Chipotle is looking to do a pickup window. It's something that they actually started right before the pandemic. It is not a drive-through. At the next meeting, I'll be prepared to talk about that a little bit further. But I do agree with you. It doesn't make sense to put like a Burger King or, you know, something that's going to generate a ton of traffic and potentially create issues. So I do appreciate that. And then and I completely understand your sentiment about siding. And like I said, we're working with our architect. You know, again, the goal of this meeting was just to show you a couple different concepts, see what you like and see what you don't like. So do appreciate your comments, and we will make sure to take them into account when we come back here next.
I think what we're going to be looking at is more of a hardy siding, a cement type siding. I think that's much richer. We have started to look into that as well, and we just want to come up with the right balance. But I would, you know, that definitely could be an issue. So to resolve it now, I think we would be willing to, you know, move forward with a hardy plank siding. Also, your comment on the drive-through, there's got to be about 10 cars before it gets into that patio area. And what we were going to do is we were going to put some signage there. So there is a break so people don't crowd in next to that drive-through. And we may be able to do some type of a screen, partial screen wall or something in that area. And we'll take a look at that.
Thank you for that. I think maybe just the last question I have is, you're talking about this being high-end apartments. What are your price points for rent?
We're looking at doing $2 a square foot. So my math's not going to be perfect, but the one bedrooms are about 720 square feet. So that's going to be around $1,400 in rent. And for the two bedrooms, they're $1,055 to $1,100. So that's going to be, you know, close to 2,000. You know, again, these apartments wouldn't be online most likely, most ambitiously for another 2.5 years from now with an 18-month construction schedule. So, you know, we feel like rents are going to be a lot closer to that $2 rent. Our average rent will be pushing that, with the one bedroom slightly higher than the two bedrooms.
Okay, because I think that's something that from a township standpoint, part of our due diligence, I think, will be in doing some sort of a rent study just to see how those price points compare to other rental units within the area and how are they. So the first thing people are going to talk about within the township board when you're talking about a large rental complex is, we don't want the Villages of Wixom here. So I know that's not what you're proposing, and I know this is different, but when we're talking about a large rental complex, that's the first thing that's going to be popping into people's heads. So that would just keep that in mind. That's Larry, that's all I have.
Lastly, if I may, we just a couple days ago got some pricing for those Barrington apartments that you guys were talking about earlier. And I know those are starting at around the $2 a square foot range, and that's today. So, you know, we're looking at do rents that are similar, if not higher.
Okay, thanks. Brian Peril.
Thanks, Mr. Haber. I don't want to reproduce any or duplicate anybody else's comments. Just kind of level some of my notes here. My expectations are to be high for building materials. George addressed that, and the Schaefer's touched on it. I appreciate that. I think screening of the dumpsters, which is something is going to be something that will be important for this development in residential. I noticed the pool in your rendering, but not in the site plan. Is there going to be a pool?
Yes.
It'll be on the next.
I'm going to make sure that's on the next plan, but we're trying to figure that out right now. We'll have to do some soil borings and figure out where exactly we place the pool, but we're definitely looking to include a pool as part of this, or a hot tub as part of this development.
Okay. I was just interested. And lastly, in regard to the sidewalks, I would just say I appreciate your offer to contribute to, maybe it's a sidewalk bank or participate in the connection to the airline trail. I think that would be important for the community.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, Chelsea, you have anything you want to pop in here?
Spencer, I know you asked about the new elevations and our opinions on those. I really like what you guys brought today. So, and I agree that some variation with that would be good. I think it's going to be difficult to make that area walkable if you're trying to connect it over to the Home Depot area. So I would just keep that in mind. I mean, you can barely walk through the parking lots there without getting run over. So walking from another development into those areas is going to be a challenge. So I would like to see that part of the plan kind of really hashed out before we move forward. But other than that, I like what you guys brought today, and I look forward to seeing what you have next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. Sam, you have any comment?
Well, actually, most of the comments I have in mind, George covered it. And I do like the answer as well about the elevation and the new material to use. So no more comments. Thanks.
Brian Winkler.
Well, but the petitioner aware of the challenges regarding the non-conformance with the master plan and the not currently with the property not currently zoned for their proposed use, along with the apartment issue that the township board sometimes, in many cases, in most cases, has had on past apartment type projects. It makes me ask the question, and it's almost a question for George and not necessarily a petitioner. If these were owner occupied versus apartments, does that change the geography of a project like this as far as it being approved by the board?
I think it helps I don't know that it changes any of the facts, but I think it helps the perception of it being less transient if they were condos, if they were owner units. But again, we also recognize that the world around us is changing, and we approved with great fanfare the Barrington project. So I think there has been some movement of that, and that's why it's important to keep it on a higher end where you're going to have a less transient customer.
And going on that, if I may, we're not looking to compete, with the other stuff that's out there. I know Mickey Shapiro, MJC, has been very active in the community with Barrington. And then I forget the name of Shearwater, the townhouse development to the south. We're looking to appeal a younger demographic and, younger millennial like myself, who unfortunately, my dad doesn't pay me a salary. I have to go out and work for all of it on my own. But, I can't afford to buy a house, and there really is an affordability crisis. But, at the same time, we're not looking to do, a cheap apartment, especially if we do Hardy. These are going to really look like for sale units. We want to do something that's extremely appealing. Again, like I said, we're really looking to do condo-like finishes on the interiors in order to get high rents. And I take all of your considerations to heart. But one of my goals, entering the real estate business, is to really try to create a way to provide housing to people, who are struggling or who can't, afford to buy a house. So, I'm hopeful, that's everybody's mind. But like I said, we're going to create, or doesn't want to buy a house. I know I don't want to cut the lawn. My dad didn't let me do that when I was younger. He was afraid of me operating, the lawnmower. But things are changing, and we believe that this product, we're going to take all of your considerations to heart, and we're going to create something that's very appealing and hopefully that's very successful.
Okay.
One comment I have for the petitioner is the retail. I know those are conceptual elevations, but they need a lot of work. Monochromatic or very bland facades are not gonna work.
I would press you to take a look at that Panera Center. Just because I personally thought, looking at the 5 or 10 new retail centers I've seen, that has been one of the nicest. But I do agree with you. We are going to be doing a number of different materials on the commercial buildings, it's probably best to look at that first slide that shows, like I said, the 4, the 5, the 6 materials.
Okay, so they leave the best for last, which would be me. Okay. Steve and Spencer, I have yet to see somebody come in here petition without maximum density. And everybody's trying to put an 11-foot into an 8 shoe. And that's what I see here. I think it's too dense. I think there's too many units, too much going on here. Bill McKeever mentioned this, and I think there's just too much going on. That's my first opinion. The second opinion, I live in Commerce Township, and I may be moving into your place. I don't know. But I noticed there's no elevators there. And I know you have things on the ground floor for seniors like myself, but I don't think that's enough. I think you need to go back and look at this thing with elevators. Even a young person's not going to want to carry packages up to the 3rd floor. I think you need to reevaluate it and take a good look at that. As far as the materials here, I can disagree a little bit with Brian Winkler. I think that I kind of like the tones that you have there. I'd like to see more stone all over the place. I think you've done a decent job with that. As far as vinyl goes, not going to work. I'm glad you're looking at the hardy board. That's much better. The sidewalks are a given here, by the way. We're going to have you put sidewalks in one way or the other, whether you're making a donation to the township or not. They'll go well with the fire station that I recommended to you before. So those are the comments that I have. I hope that you have picked up something here that you can use and come back to us with something more. I really think that you need to, first, the 3 stories bothers me in the beginning. Although you have the 2 motels over there that are 3 stories, and that's the only reason I'm not making a big issue out of it here. But when I first saw this plan, I met with you guys a long time ago. I wasn't really too enamored with it. But the more I get into this, the more I think it's a right fit, just as George said before. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to work not only for the community, but for the people that rent there. They're going to have access to a lot of different walkable features, which we don't have much of in the township. So I think I think you got something really going there for you. So that's my comments. Does anybody else have anything they want to say to the Schaefers? Anything the Schaefers want to say to us?
Yeah, Larry, I'd like to just address your comments on the elevator. We've discussed this issue the past 2 months nonstop. And what we've done is we've designed the stairwells so they're 15 feet wide. We have 2 stairwells. So, I know that alleviates some of those concerns, not all of those concerns. But I spoke with the architect, Ghaffari and Associates. They're very well-known architect. Their branch out of Grand Rapids does a lot of the neighborhood / mid-rise apartments. So they do a lot of 3-story and 4-story product. Normally, I know you talked a little bit about the stories. Those units actually lease better. People like them. They feel like they're a little bit safer. And another one of the big hurdles that we have with elevators is that this is more of a small boutique building. It's not, a 40-unit building, a 50-unit building, a 60-unit building. Elevators are very expensive, especially today. And to spread it out over the units, it is a little difficult. So again, we're trying to do extra wide staircases. There's only 8 units a floor. People aren't crowded, but if there's a way, we feel like we can do that economically.
Okay, Spencer, I think what I'm trying to tell you is that if I was a potential buyer or potential renter, you wouldn't get me as a renter there. First of all, I want to live on the bottom floor. I like the ceilings that you're talking about on the 3rd floor, the cathedral ceilings and stuff like that. I like the view on the 3rd floor. But I'm not going to walk up the stairs with packages and stuff like that. I'm just making a comment. You guys can do it.
I agree. I think it probably would make sense if we do that in a couple of the buildings. That way we can appeal, to a larger demographic.
Think about it. Okay, does anybody else have any comments? Spencer? Steve, anybody?
No, just that, again, with the residential in this area, and I think there isn't much controversy about having the residential there. We think that it's really going to be good for the retailers in that area. Certainly will have, people in close proximity where they can do a 5-minute walk, whether we get movies again, I don't know. But Lifetime is over there. And then, we want to make a strong pedestrian access point to the south and work with the Murrays. And maybe there's some more things that we can do. We want to talk to the Murrays. They have no sidewalks. West Bloomfield comes together, Farmington Hills comes together at that intersection, and there's some sidewalks going in one community and not in the other. So, we want to try to strengthen that, because I think the walkability of this development in this particular area is kind of unique. So we appreciate your comments. I agree. I think a lot of the things that you've said, we've been thinking about. So let's see if we can take this plan to the next level and bring you something here in March that, hopefully we do a little better job and you guys feel comfortable with what we're proposing.
Well, I think you've done a good job. We just have to tweak it a little bit.
Sure.
And I thank you for your patience, and we look forward to seeing you in March.
Thank you. We
Appreciate
appreciate the feedback
Okay.
and the comments.
Guys, take care.
Thank you.
Okay. Dave Campbell, question. And everybody listen to this, please. There's been 3 or 4 people that tell me there's a football game on today, and I think that that's a great thing to do. Dave, do you think we're going to spend a lot of time on these bylaws? If not, we can bring it up on another meeting.
Here's what I'll say about the bylaws. The attorney says we need to do this. So we can just trust the attorney and go ahead and make these amendments so that we're capable of complying with state law to continue to have remote meetings or partially remote meetings through the end of 2021. And I think the attorney would be happy if we were able to adopt these changes tonight because it's consistent with what the township board has already adopted at their meeting back in December when they adopted the procedures for electronic meetings and attendance. So this would be kind of a carry forward of what the board already did in December.
So Dave, I went through all of this, and it is exactly consistent with the what's been put in place for the township board. And I think the only of note in here, because I've had to comply with it as well, and Larry, I believe if unless you are military or one of the other exceptions, we just have to note if we are out of state, we have to note where we're calling in from at the start of the meeting. Other than that, this is exactly consistent with what the township board has. So therefore, to move things along on the 7-7 football game, I will make a motion to approve the amendments to the Township Planning Commission bylaws.
Well,
George.
I hate to do this to you, but I got a question, okay? Dave, will you go to D, section D and section E?
Am I within Article 1? No. All right, hold on.
So
there's more, no, isn't there A, B, C, D, and it's
yeah, under what number?
Number 2.2, special
2.2.
3.
Okay.
Or 2.
Everything's in red.
So 2.4 D and E.
Well, let me see if that's the one.
At the outset of each meeting, the person chairing the meeting must state clearly for the record the reason why some or all members are participating in the meeting remotely. Is that one of them, Larry?
Well, that's one.
No. Or 2.5D, when the chairperson must attend a meeting by telephonic or video conferencing for the reasons permitted under the Open Meetings Act and these bylaws, the chairperson shall inform the vice chairperson and secretary at least 24 hours before the meeting so as to permit any necessary technology to be put in place.
There you go. Because that's going to affect me personally.
So I think if I read that correctly, though, it just says that you need to let Paula know, or Dave know, and Brian, that you're going to be attending electronically the day before the meeting.
That's what it says. Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that that's what I was reading. Otherwise, I have no comments on the rest of the bylaws. So now you made a motion. George?
I did make a motion.
Did we hear?
And I
that?
seconded, sir.
Seconded? Who did it? Brian Peril? Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion on the bylaws? If not, then I'll tell Debbie to call the roll call.
Weber,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Winkler,
Aye.
McKeever,
Aye.
Kareem,
Aye.
Reback,
Aye.
Haver.
Aye. Dave Campbell? You're on notice. I'm giving you more than 24 hours.
I duly noted.
Okay, any other matters to come before the planning commission? Anybody have anything they wish any comments, anything they wish to say?
Larry, I have one item. And it's-
All right,
and
the
it's-
chair recognizes Brian Winkler. Go for it.
It's in regard to if the planning commission has any interest in learning more about net zero or carbon neutral buildings and developments as a matter of just general knowledge. I have one of my partners is very active in promoting these types of projects, and she has volunteered to actually make a present. Samira knows her name is Jan Culbertson, and she is an authority on these types of things. And if people are interested in or would like to entertain her making a presentation to the planning commission on these subjects, I'd be glad to promote it further.
Well, I, for one, would like to find out more about it. I don't know about anybody else. Dave, is there any way we can work that into our schedule?
Certainly we can. We've got a meeting on February 1st and then March 1st. I can communicate with Brian as far as what his colleague's schedule could be and, how much time we should allot. And yeah, we can definitely make it happen.
Okay, I'll let you and Brian work that out. And I would do it on a day when you have a light meeting, not a heavy one, with a lot of stuff on it. If we can do it, if we can work that out. Or leave room for it and not schedule somebody else at that time. So that would be my thought. But I certainly would like to find out more about that. Anybody else have a comment?
I have one, and just maybe a preview, because I'm going to bring this up in tomorrow's board meeting. But I was reading the article in one of the recent planning and zoning news magazines that came out, speaking to marijuana industry and petitioners targeting communities to overturn some of the ordinances that are in place. So in Commerce Township, as an example, we opted out of having retail and marijuana grow facilities within the township, which was our right to do so. Some of these outside influences, and a lot of them are from out of state, are targeting communities to try to get it on the ballot to force townships or municipalities to change their ordinance. So it's just an FYI. It was a very interesting read in that article on just the number of communities within Michigan that were targeted and the money that's being spent by some of the outside influences to address this. So I'm going to be asking our township attorney just what before we get targeted, if we were to get targeted, what is our legal stance and what should our position be? So that's all I have.
Okay, with that, anybody else have any comments? Thank you both. Dave, your turn.
I'll try to be quick, although it sounds like my kids are already playing the football game up above me. But at the February 1st Planning Commission meeting, you are likely to see the site plan for the Martin Townhomes project. You'll remember that was a conditional rezoning that got approved. Now they need to come back with their site plan. The reserve at Crystal Lake, so this is the 200-ish houses on the former gravel pit, now man-made lake. That is a PUD. They are gonna potentially be having their public hearing, or they will be having their public hearing as part of the February 1st Planning Commission meeting. Just a heads up, it looks like the former Dick Morris dealership has been sold or is in the process of being sold to another big automotive dealer. I don't think I'm supposed to say which one, but it's one of the big ones. So we'll see what they have in mind for that piece of property. The self-storage facility that we saw a concept plan for at the southeast corner of M5 and Pontiac Trail. A component of that is doing a pathway along the side of their property that would then link up to a pathway along the east side of M5 within the state's right-of-way, and then connect to the Michigan Airline Trail further south. We are in communications with the state of Michigan about what that process would look like. We'd need blessing from the state. We'd need blessing from the Federal Highway Administration. So more to come on what hoops we're going to have to jump through to make that happen. And then the last thing I'll mention is that Oakland County is in the middle of doing their, they're calling it the Restaurant Relief Program, which has multiple phases, but the phase we're in right now is Oakland County allocated funding to get a bunch of equipment from Home Depot so that restaurants can try to stay open through the winter. So the equipment includes these greenhouse, these snap and grow greenhouses that people could have outdoor seating inside. It includes some stand-up propane heaters. It includes some disinfecting sprayers. The township got our allocation of that from the county. It wasn't a ton, but we are working with restaurants to try to get that out as quickly as possible. We had some restaurants already come in today. The stuff just showed up today, and some restaurants have already come in today to pick up what we could provide for them. And we're expecting more restaurants tomorrow. So we're trying to work through that with Oakland County to try to keep these restaurants afloat during this crazy pandemic. That's all I've got, unless anybody's had any questions for me.
Anybody? Nope. Take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Deb,
Harold,
Aye.
Reback,
Aye.
McKeever,
Aye.
Kareem,
Aye.
Weber,
Aye.
Winkler,
Aye.
Haver.
aye, and let me remind you all that the next meeting is February 1st, and right now we think it's going to be the same electronic meeting. So we will see you all then. Everybody take care and stay safe.
Great.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.